And hey, we've got people jumping in already. Hello,
Okay,
everyone.
awesome.
Hello, hello. See, just seeing if everything's working. Looks good. Wow, we're already at close to 100 people. Wow, over 100.
Whoa.
So, wow, it's filling up quick. So, welcome everyone to this AI talk with Alessandro here. I'll let Alessandro introduce himself and go over his history, but he's very generously jumping in here to give this talk, which is going to be awesome. I'm super excited for it. And he's got 15 years of animation experience. He's also an Animation Mentor alumni, so many of you here are from Animation Mentor. He's one of us. So, uh, definitely check out his work. Also, he has an amazing YouTube channel, which I'm going to post in the chat for everyone to check out. But I'll let him take over here and introduce himself.
Okay, hi everyone. So first of all, I want to say thank you to Animation Mentor for having me and give me this opportunity to talk about this specific topic. First of all, hello to everyone in the chat. I already saw some familiar names. I'll be happy also to answer your question. So I'm gonna start very quickly just to introduce myself. I know some of you already know me, maybe some of me not. I'll try to keep it not too long, so not to bore everybody, right? So I'm gonna start very quickly. Actually, I started my journey as a 2D animator. My dream wanted to be a 2D animator, comic book artist, and it didn't go very well. I wasn't very inclined for that kind of field, but likely I was still very passionate about games, animation. So 3D came along. It was an opportunity for me to learn 3D animation. I started a little bit, about myself at the beginning. Then likely I discovered Animation Mentor, which as soon as I had the opportunity, I enrolled the school. It was a great experience. I enjoyed the 18 months. Was a bit of a challenge because I had a full-time job at the beginning. Then at some point I decided to focus only on Animation Mentor because I wanted really to give all my energy to the school and not to be distracted by anything else. Jump forward, like I would say 6 months after I finished the school, I got my first job in Crytek, was a video game company, was Crytek Hungary, a subsidiary of the main studio. Very excited, was for me the first opportunity to work on a AAA title. I work as a gameplay animator, a little bit of cinematic animator. The team wasn't very big, so it was fun. It was fun. The company was around 100 people. And after that experience, after 2 years and a half, I have the chance to join one of the ex-mentor from Animation Mentor. I don't know if he's still teaching there, James Chang, who was still in contact with me. He had the opportunity to direct a TV series and eventually a movie in Singapore. And that's what he called me to join him as a senior animator and a lot of other students from Animation Mentor. So it was a great opportunity. We were almost like a small family. Again, the studio was very small, but we kind of knew each other. So it was an amazing opportunity. I grew from a senior to a supervisor, and I learned a lot. I discovered a lot about Singapore and Asia, which I loved. And after that on, basically, I try, I try to work in the visual effects and feature film industry. That was also one of my dreams. Try that field as well and try to really to push my skill. So I think I was around a couple of years in Vancouver and Montreal, both of them. I work in Sony, I work in Method, and another studio noise on top of my head. I don't remember. It's okay. I'll go back later. Anyway, I work on 3 companies in Canada. Again, great experience and everything, but at some point I wanted something more stable. I also really enjoy Singapore, so I apply. Beside many other company, I apply for Ubisoft in Singapore, where I had the chance to work basically on, Assassin's Creed Valhalla. Okay, over there again, I was as a part of the gameplay team. Even there, I was a lead animator. And then after 2 years and a half again in Ubisoft, I had the chance to move to Riot, where I'm currently am at the moment, and I've been on Riot a little bit more than 3 years. And again, still going well so far. But as you can see, my career brought me from many different paths, right? I started for games, then I went TV series, then I went feature film, visual effects, and go back to games eventually. So I would say, you know, my experience is kind of 360-degree all rounded. I try a little bit of everything, and yeah, and so far here I am. So again, hello to everyone. And today what we want to do, I wanted to talk actually about two important topics, all right, that are taking the industry by the storms, not just the feature film or visual effects industry, gaming as well. So one of the first topic that I want to cover are all the massive and huge layoff that has been happening in this couple of years, all right? For the feature film and visual effects was mostly about the strikes happening about the writers, and pretty sure there was also a few other reasons. That wasn't the only one. For the gaming industry also started last year and is sadly continuing this year. And you know, I think mostly the reason why we arrived to the point where, you know, people realize that gaming industry as a whole is becoming a little bit too expensive. You know, expenses start to grow more and more, and so it's always very difficult become profitable. So this is a you know, very difficult challenge for a lot of studios, right? And so I wanted to start with this topic today because I felt like it's a huge topic, and I think it's not being talked enough, right? Of course, there are people talking over social media, LinkedIn, people that sadly are being affected, right? But I think there are not a lot of people bringing enough visibility to what's happened to the industry. And at the same time, guys, I know that there are, you know, people who tend to be a little bit of afraid, right? Says, hey, but what does it mean? Is it still safe to study animation? Is still a good career? What's going to happen in the future, right? I can understand it, especially people who wanted to study animation or they're studying animation right now. They're saying that it's still going to worth taking this career, right? And so I want to try to bring a little bit of visibility on this topic and try hopefully to answer the question as best of my knowledge, all right? So the very thing that we want to discuss, first of all, terrible that we know all these people lose job, right? Nobody win in this situation. There is no winner, right? People losing job, company losing great talent, right? So there is nobody that a win in these cases. So first of all, you know, always very important to be very sensitive as well, you know, but because when you talk sometimes with other artists that they try to work in the industry that have been affected by you know, this earthquake, let's call it like this. Let's also, guys, try to be very sensitive because we don't know who might be affected by those layoffs. What is the personal situation? Some people might be more okay. Some people, they will struggle most. So first of all, I just want to recommend the maximum empathy for everybody because this is a situation where obviously nobody wants to find, you know, himself in this kind of situation, right? But obviously, wanna talk about it more specifically. It's what happened. What does it mean this for the industry, right? And another question that a lot of people have is, does this mean that this industry? Some people said in a recession, right? Normally, when people use the word recession, right, they tend to speak about the economy globally, right? But a recession, in a way, can also be used specifically in specific industry, right? Not just globally, the entire world economic stuff like that. Could be, hey, just the game industry being in a recession or the visual effects feature film. So there is, I think, a couple of distinction. So for the feature film and visual effects industry, obviously, you guys all know the big catalyst was the strike from the writers, right? Obviously, I don't know very well the details, so I don't want to maybe go too much into that because I'm not part of this writer guild, so I don't want to give misinformation. But we just know that deal basically put on pause, on hold, some of the production, right? And that obviously means that company cannot just keep people without having anything to do, and so they have to lay off people. Some studios, as far as I knew, they actually stop entirely production for a few months because they have to wait until the moment ramps up. Okay, and obviously another things that has been happening lately. This is more, I guess, globally. You know, with the COVID and everything, there's been a raise in insurance rates. That also means that for companies, it's becoming more difficult to raise funding, because I don't want to go too much into details because I don't want to make a topic about economics. But very briefly, guys, means for every company, a lot of companies borrow money from banks or whatever to make their project, their games, the next movie. And when the interest rate is too high, it's more difficult for them, right? So I think it's been a combination of certain things happening at the same time, all right? And again, instead for the gaming industry specifically, it's been to a point where the cost of gaming industry, it's it's skyrocketing, right? I think for the last 10 years, it's becoming the norm where a game costs $100 million, $150 million. And again, games are very difficult to make. Maybe you guys never had the chance. Maybe some of you had already, but maybe some of you guys didn't have the chance. And I can guarantee you, making games is extremely complicated. It's not that easy. So even if you spend necessarily a lot of money, you hire the best people in the world, it doesn't automatically translate in making a good games that is going to sell a lot, right? It doesn't work mathematically. It's not about how many money spend, how much money you make, right? And so I think we arrived to a point where, we arrive almost to a breaking point. And this, in a way, I know it might sound very counterintuitive, but could be a way in a good point, because like everything else, when you push a certain industry or until a certain limit, right, you're pushing, there is always a breaking point. And me working in the gaming industry, from people who are inside, they could feel that there are so many things are not working and so many things could be better and could be optimized better. If maybe this is the moment where, even a lot of companies, a lot of people who manage those companies, they realize, what, we need to be better at this, right? We need to change the way we work. We need to change the way we make product, because we cannot just extend the budget forever. We cannot ask our people, I'm pretty sure you're familiar, you heard about this news. We cannot ask the people who are working in this industry just to do overtime for 6 months and not seeing their parents, their family and stuff like that. So obviously there was something that needed to change. And so maybe this could be the catalyst. Maybe this could be an opportunity where we could have a little bit of a reset, and people will sit down and says, you know what, we exaggerated, we overhire, we did exceed production too much, and we realize it's not sustainable, and we need to change the way we do things. And these things could be for the better. Obviously, guys, when this happens, when this break point happens, it's always very abrupt. That's why you see suddenly all those layoffs that has been happening out of the blue and impacted so many people, right? This is obviously the downside that sadly affects so many people. And again, the best, we always wish all this best for those people that can go back on their feet, right? But this is unfortunately is the very downside of this. Hopefully, again, things now, people will be more careful how they do produce movie and games, and this could potentially bring to a better future for all of us, for a better condition, right? I think because usually when those things happen, it means that something needs to change, right? Or else you wouldn't see all those layoffs or stuff like that, all right? And so a lot of people, when answering a lot of people that are afraid about this, they see all the news, especially if you guys have social media, it's very easy to be overwhelmed with the negativity, right? Because you see constantly message of people saying, I'm being laid off, I've been laid off from this company, I've been out of job for 6 months, right? All of this can be very, very overwhelmed, right? But people obviously are thinking, well, first of all, does the industry will recover from this, and will still be okay to work this as career and everything. So I think like everything else, the industry will recover. I think the animation industry, the entertaining industry is not gonna go anywhere. Maybe it will change. I mean, things always change, right? But I hardly see that, movie disappear, games disappear. After all, those are industry that always been growing more and more for the last decades, 15 years, right? Again, there is a point where things need to be reset a step down, then maybe restart, and then continue to grow. So definitely I still believe that there is, these things will continue to grow for, who knows, 15, 20, 30 years more, who knows for how long. So I don't think the entertaining industry will go anywhere. It will change for sure, because things change all the time. We change the way we make movie, we change the way we make games and everything, right? But again, so I think there will be jobs, and yeah, things will change. Maybe the best things that people can do, right? I know it's very difficult, but when you are overwhelmed about all these negativity, if you want to call it that way, is like try to be a little bit more logic about it, right? Try sometimes to leave the emotion aside for the moment and says, okay, if you analyze this logically, you know that this industry still has a bright future, right? So this is like I would say, undeniable. The things I think people need to do, they always need to keep an open eyes, all right? Don't just, my advice for you, especially if you guys are starting this industry, you are starting, right? Whenever you're going to get your first job, that I'm pretty sure if you're talented, you will get it. Don't try always to be narrow-minded and say, okay, I'm getting this job. I'm in this field. That's what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. This is a mentality maybe my parents could have, right? Even me at my age right now, I'm 42. I cannot afford to think like that. I never thought about anything like that. In fact, as I told you, I changed so many industry, right? That's why, because I wanted to be flexible, learn a new skill, adapt myself, looking around, even with AI that we're gonna talk about it in a while. Yes, sure. I have my strong opinion about AI, and that how it's not going to replace us. But still, that doesn't mean I completely ignore and close any topic. I still, look and observe, right? I can give you guys a brief input. When I was very young and I was studying 2D animation, and and there was the beginning of 3D animation for feature film. I understood that 3D was good for video games because video games was interactive. But when I see the first 3D movie, Toy Story and stuff like that, and quality-wise compared to the old Disney movie that was handcrafted, very beautiful. I was really passionate about anime, manga, Akira, Ghost in the Shell, you name it. For me, those were pure masterpiece, right? And when I see the first 3D movie, that the quality didn't get even closer, I was very narrow-minded at the beginning. I was like, these things will never take over. The 3D will never able to reach the same quality of 2D animation, because in 2D, you can draw whatever you want. Every change you can change. Every frame you can change the line of action and everything. In 3D, you're bound to how mechanical things are. Well, obviously, I was proven wrong completely. And that was the mind of a 20 years old, because I was really in love with the craft, with the art, right? But again, at some point, I learned my lesson, because when I wanted to work as a 2D animator, 2D was dying. And so I have to adapt myself. And I learned the lesson likely very quickly, because I was still kind of youngish, more or less. I was 22, and I have to relearn everything. I have to learn out of the blue 3D, 3D animation. I couldn't go immediately to animation mentor. So for a while, I have to study by myself, and I needed to learn a lot of new things, and I needed to keep a very open-minded, right? And then it happened the same with motion capture, because I was in love with keyframe animation. I see the possibility, and I felt like, okay, motion capture is very boring. You just copy real life. But then you realize there are benefits also to motion capture. You can do certain things that you cannot do with keyframe animation. So there is always the other side of the coin, and people who tend to be way too stubborn and be completely close-minded to everything else, they could be happen that at some point there might be a shift in the industry, and if your brain refuses to change or refuses to adapt, you might left out of the job market, which is something that you don't want, right? And again, it happened the same to some of the old 2D animator that was some of the master of that craft, right? Some of them, they managed to adapt and learn 3D. Many didn't, and I don't know what happened to them, honestly. Maybe some of them managed to retire and their life it's good. Maybe other not. Again, I don't know. But what I know that very well, a lot of people didn't manage to make that transition. And so, again, I don't think AI is gonna be that transition. It's gonna replace animation, but we don't know if in the future there's going to be a different way to animate, right? Maybe some people will say you can animate with a VR set, right? Again, first opinion might not be likely yet, but again, never knows what will happen in the future. And I think you need to just keep an open minded. That's the best way. Don't close your eyes to certain things, certain new technology. I know it's very human nature reject something at the beginning, right? That's kind of very, very normal, guys. Um when you became very good at something, when you spend 10 years, 15 years, 20 years in becoming very good at something, you don't want to let go. You don't want to say, okay, I want to, give up on all the things I learned for 20 years. I want to start from zero and need to start to learn a new software or a new way to animate, right? Because sometimes I can guarantee you guys could be very, very difficult. Instead, you need to be on top of the industry, always looking at trend, always be curious, what's going on around you. And again, maybe even if the first impression can be, this is never going to happen, it's going to take over, it's okay to have these feelings at the beginning. I have them too still sometimes. But then, take a few moments to chill out and to digest and say, okay, maybe this is potential. Maybe actually this is a benefit for what I'm doing. It's not going to be disruptive. It actually can improve things, improve my workflow and everything, and not just take me out of my job and replace me with a machine or whatever is going to happen, right? If it kind of makes sense. Before I move forward, maybe I want to say if anybody has any question regarding what I talk about it specifically.
So we do
This
have
one.
a few questions kind of on the topic about the layoffs that you're going or talking about. So we do have one question here. With all the layoffs, competition has been intense for getting hired. And I personally don't see, or I'm not seeing any rejections going out for the last months. Do you have any suggestions for navigating and improving your reel in such a climate?
Okay, sure.
So with so many professionals like being laid off, how would someone who's new even manage to hold on in this industry?
Absolutely, absolutely. It's true because I mean, people that are being laid off is not just you might think, okay, you know what, there is a team of 50 people, 50 animators. They need to lay off 30. Obviously, they keep the best and they lay off. I don't want to say the one that are not good, but the one that are less good. No, there's been some cases where amazing artists are being a layoff, right? When it comes to layoff, guys, it's not always shrinking down a team from, I don't know, 50 to 20. In some cases are an entire project, like a company is working on a new games that is not been even announced, that another company is working on a movie. Well, it's been canceled, the entire project, and so there is no way to transfer those people internally. So a bunch of good people get laid off. Sometimes it means even great people, even supervisor, amazing senior animator who make top quality animation, right? And so yes, it is very difficult because now what is happening is that a lot of artists, as we said, a lot of great artists also are looking for a job at the same time, right? And so people will feel like, okay, what about me? I'm a junior, I have no experience and everything, right? What chance do I have? Well, it might not be necessarily like this because company, yes, they want to hire good senior, good mid-level, strong animator, right? But they also need sometimes junior, right? And actually, the junior, it can be a lot cheaper, obviously, than a senior who has 10 years of experience, right? Me personally, because I teach privately as well, I had a couple of students just, I think, like 4 or 5 months ago, they actually managed to get a job directly, I think was Epic, and the other one I don't remember, but they managed to get a job without zero working experience. But I really had to push them to make sure that their demo reel was really, really good, right? So I can say, I told them if this is the industry, now a lot of people looking for a job, the quality bar is increasing. It was already increasing before, even before all this layoff. Now even more because there is going to be more competition. However, as a junior, you're not competing with a senior or with a mid-level or a lead with a supervisor, right? They are competing in their own leagues, right? You as a junior, as an intern, you have the opportunity to enter, obviously with a lower salary, which is kind of normal, obviously in the industry, right? And again, if you have a really good demo reel, I would say then actually you have a good opportunity, because the company would say, you know what, this student is great and it's going to cost me a fraction of a senior, right? So the company is going to be even happier if you want. And it doesn't mean the company it's underpay you for the rest of your career. It's just an entry point, right? It's just an entry point for you to enter in the company, making experience, making connection and stuff like that. From there you need to go. So that's one thing that you need to keep in mind, that you're not competing with those seniors, lead or mid-level, that they have 5 years plus of experience. Of course, also there are other juniors that lose their job, so you probably will compete with them. And in fact, what I really recommend everybody is, you want to make sure your portfolio is not just good in the sense that your animation looks fluid, it looks nice, you have body mechanics, but you need to have something extra, okay? Something I constantly see people completely underestimate about this is when they apply for a job, they're thinking about, oh, I'm applying, the company will apply to me in person. No, you need to think about 100 people are possibly apply to that position. So you need to ask yourself, okay, if there are another 100 demo reel apply for the same position, why my demo reel will stand out? What do I have that potentially other people don't have in their own demo reel? Because if you have just a walk cycle, a jumping and a landing, a very generic acting shot, right? Chances are that 90% of the other demo reel are going to have exactly the same, right? So try to ask yourself, what do I have? What am I showing about my personality? What do I bring to the table for this company? And also another way to do this, to have a little bit more of a visibility of what other people could potentially do. Sometimes I remember when I was doing what I look for a job and I have my LinkedIn connection and everything, I go and take a look at the artists that are looking for a job and everything, and I go and take a look at their demo reel, at their portfolio, just to have an idea of who is the competition out there, right? Because obviously we are all need to be team player and everything, but when you're applying for a job, it's you versus the rest of the world, right? That's how it is. Okay. Another things I wanna give, and I know this is not for everybody, but don't focus to apply and look for a job all in one specific location. I know a lot of people who are born in the US. You guys been extremely lucky in a way, because the gaming industry, feature film, visual effects industry always been there. There's always been a lot of jobs, a lot of company. So even if something happened, you probably can find another job in the same city or still stay in the US anyway. For a lot of us that are not born in the US, well, we never have this luxury. So even when I wanted to study animation, one of my first teacher, when I was starting to do animation, one of the first things he told us is, guys, if you want to be an animator, prepare to sleep with a luggage under your bed, because you need to travel. You never know when you're gonna be your next job and where it's gonna bring you. Could be Europe, Canada, Australia, Asia. You don't know. You don't know how the job will change in the future. This was, I think, almost 20 years ago. So the animation industry wasn't as big, definitely, as it is right now. I can tell you guys, after 20 years, there are so many companies that we didn't have 20 years ago. So there is a lot more opportunity. But again, nobody, I think, can predict the future. We don't know how the job market will go. And you don't know how the job market will switch, because you don't know if they will just go somewhere else. For many years in Canada, he had a lot of subsidies, right? So a lot of studio open in Montreal and everything. A lot of people go there. Before that was London, for example, right? So nobody knows where it will go next, right? But you as an artist, you need to, if you want to do this job, you need to prepare to go anywhere. And if you struggle to find the job in your own country, then don't, of course, and again, I want to repeat myself, this is not for everybody, because if a family with kids, I understand it's not that easy. But for everyone else, try to be open to go wherever the job takes you. I mean, I came to Singapore, barely know where Singapore was, and I had the best time of my life. That's actually, I even back here to Singapore. I've been in Singapore for 10 years right now. Even though in the middle, I left a couple of years to Canada. But those are the things you want to definitely keep in mind. I hope this kind of answered the question.
That was perfect.
And you want to see if there was any other question about this topic?
Well, most of the questions now kind of touch into the AI topic as well. They're kind of going hand in hand. So
Okay.
maybe we'll wait to answer that after your talk on AI, just because I think most of it might be answered by what you mentioned next.
All right. All right. Cool. So let's talk about the AI. Big topic, guys. And I know also this topic spark a lot of fear, right? So when I think it was a couple of years ago, when I first experiment about AI, right? Especially started with image, if you guys remember, it was I think 1 year and a half ago. And of course, like the first thing is you, oh my God, that's amazing. You type a few words and can create the image out of the blue, and you can tell what kind of style do you want, if you want to mimic a specific artist. So obviously the very first reaction was like, okay, technology is really coming along really, really far. But again, another things that started to happen very quickly and this kind of excitement for me started to fade away is when you started to see people playing with the AI, right? You start to see creating a lot of stuff, especially people that are not necessarily artists. Now they can create visual that looks very eye candy, like extreme high resolution, a lot of details. Sure, with one mistake here and there, the hands are not done properly, stuff like that. But for sure, they're impressive because the resolution is amazing, looks photorealistic. They can perfectly mimic a style of an artist of your choice, right? And the things that I started to see a pattern that things started to look quite boring very, very quickly. And they have really nothing to offer most of the time where a character with a profile is not really doing anything interesting. The style, this kind of photorealistic style start to get very repetitive. People started to use it for very sci-fi or very fantasy architecture. And then again, somewhat after a while, things start to look very bland and very generic, right? And especially you realize when now you have, even though my channel is not that big, when you start to have 100 people that constantly upload every day their creation for with AI, then you start to see, okay, first 2, 3, 4 times it's exciting. After you see it for 10 times, you see, okay, this thing started to be boring. It has nothing to offer, right? So that's the very first issue. Second, that there is obviously the other problem is that at the moment AI is capturing just image from a big pool that is the internet. They are capturing here and there, right? You can even prompt a specific artist. Well, but that's the case. You're not actually creating anything. You're just stealing image. You're just stealing an artwork, and this is a problem that it's not that little. First of all, because as a company, when you create something, including concept art, you want to create something unique because you're gonna make it part of your brand, right? You want to make a games, you want to make a movie, you need a character design. Well, you want to have a unique character design that is part of your company, right? You don't want to generate your character design with a prompt on AI and who knows what, maybe it's capturing some image done by someone else, by another artist, right? So this is at the moment is not doable. Imagine Disney guys, imagine Pixar, that they will make a character design with AI, and then suddenly 6 months later after the movie comes out, it turns out that AI image for their concept artist, it was very referenced from an unknown artist somewhere all around the world. Obviously, that artist can actually sue the company, right? And this is a risk that a company cannot take, right? So that's why you hire people, you hire artists to do things in-house and make sure you create your own style, right? And of course, it's always impossible to make things always unique. But again, you always try your best to modify and give your own input. But with AI, you don't know because you don't know where it's getting those images from, right? So again, the risk will be way too big. Okay, so it would be too big of a risk for a company to use this approach. However, on the other hand, it doesn't mean that AI cannot be used because maybe you can use AI to brainstorm very quickly, to generate some quick idea, very fast and very quickly. And then from that idea, then you make your own design. Okay, so that's perfectly fine because at the end of the day, we take reference as well from the internet, right? I'm pretty sure everybody, when you want to do a drawings, when you want to do an animation, you tend to look at people that are better than you, and you study, you go frame by frame, you study the style, you even draw over to understand it, right? So that's fine, okay? But at the end of the day, it's what is important is you're not just copying 101 what someone else is doing, but you assimilate the knowledge and create something unique for yourself. All right. I think this is gonna be mostly valuable. And so AI could be used for the same reason as I just said. You can just generate a lot of idea, discard the one that are not really nice, and maybe other between 50 image created by AI, there is something that spark something in your head. I say, you know what, I can take some element from here and from here and recombine them and create something unique, right? But again, I wouldn't say entirely, AI replacing concept artists, because also at the same time, you want people who understand the art, who understand the craft, right? And if for everybody who work in a proper environment, right? It's, when people will give you feedback, when you're art director, it will give you feedback, right? About your image, your concept, your animation. It won't just tell you, oh, it doesn't look very interesting, generate something else. No, I will tell you, hey, this is okay, but maybe this part here needs a better color. Maybe here needs better silhouette. So you better be an amazing artist to be able to take the challenge, because you cannot put the input of a director in a prompt and hopefully to generate and modify things the way the director wants. I mean, never knows in the future. Maybe there will be a way to do it, but I think a good artist actually will be able to understand and do things better. Because at the end of the day, guys, when it comes to art, which it comes image modeling, animation, audio, visual effects, is about to share and transmit human emotion. You wanna give something to the audience that people can understand and people can relate, right? And I think that's what maybe AI won't be able to do, because you can say, give me a funny story, give me an animation that is entertaining, whatever you want, but a computer won't understand those value, right? Maybe you will understand, okay, entertaining, I have 50 clips that have the entertaining keyword is considered entertaining. Let me grab a little bit of that and doing oops. Okay. So you know what I mean, guys. So you cannot just take it like this and expect it to have great result. So you need to be very, very mindful about this. All right. And obviously the next part, it's what went from image to animation. But the same thing is happening over there. Yes, we have some example where AI is able to create animation, create live action animation, perfect, beautiful image. But again, what I think it won't be able to give you guys the creativity, the flexibility that you want as an artist. This one, it will be very unlikely. Again, that doesn't mean there won't be a very, how to say, there won't be any way to use AI. I'm not saying like that. There may be field where can help you to improve our workflow in animation, right? But at the same time, again, it's not going to do the job for you. So this is what people need to be aware of it. And other things you need to keep in mind, because sure, there's going to be a future where simple things will be able to be created with AI, right? Even in 3D directly, you will be able to say, hey, I want to have a walk, I want to have a jump, I want to have this. And the basic task, AI at some point will be able to create. That's why I always said it's very extremely important. I will never get tired of repeating this. You need to stand out with your creativity, because that's what's going to be really valuable. When you're able to do something that surprise the audience, right? That makes give that spark, that make people laugh. Okay, those things very unlikely is be able to be done by AI. I can give you like a example. It happens many times in production. Your director, your supervisor is asking you to give you a task, like, hey, take a character who takes a pen or whatever and doing an action. And then the animator out of the blue, he add his own input, okay? Maybe a specific pose, a specific gesture that makes you laugh, that makes, oh, these things is interesting, like the extra bit that goes out of the box that people were not expecting. The director is positively surprised by your action, by your intent, okay? So very hard that AI will continue to do along this way, all right? So it's very, very difficult. So I think in general, for you guys that you want to study, you want to become better in animation, yes, you want to elevate your skill as an artist, but please, you need to focus, you need to take this as a really artistic field. And I know it sounds very obvious, but you need to elevate this part of yourself and say, okay, what am I bringing to the table? Why my animation is more interesting than other? Why my style is more unique, right? And then we know it's not very difficult, but that's where you want to go. Because the simple things, eventually at some point, AI could do it. But if you think about it, even we already have motion capture in a way, right? And you can have very quickly do a motion capture session and do the basic stuff, right? But as a keyframe animator, if that's where you want to work, right? What are the things that you want to bring to the table? So I think you need to elevate yourself on a higher level. And I know this sounds obvious. People think like, okay, but Alessandro, this is kind of obvious, as an artist, you should supposed to do like this. Well, it's not that obvious because in working in the industry for a while, I've worked with a lot of talented people that you can see they're very unique artists. And when they craft something, you can see the way they do a pose that looks so original, so beautiful. You can see they've been studying the pose, the design, the line of action, everything, and they can put thoughts in every frame. And you can see other people sometimes they don't take this approach. They think about it, they're just moving limbs and stuff like that. And you can see that when you compare the animation, it's like two different cases. Like you feel the artist from one side, on the other side you can see someone that it's it just moving the character, maybe just want to do his task or something like that. And there are a lot of people like this that maybe they take their jobs not as artistic as supposed to be. And that's maybe for me what I'm saying. That's the thing where you need to raise the level, raise the bar, and be more competitive. All right, if it kind of makes sense.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Do you want to take maybe some more questions before I continue to go forward?
So yeah, we can definitely do that. So we have a bunch of questions here about how do you feel and what do you think the animation workflow is going to be with AI? You kind of talked about this already, how it will help enhance and just kind of take out some of the mundane tasks and let us be focused more on the more creative side. But do you have any other elements in there?
Okay, well, so one of them I mentioned already something similar for the concept. It could be used for create a very rough idea. So if you get to the point where I can really type a prompt and say, hey, I want a character running with a front camera and then the character slides under a tree or something, whatever, and the AI is able to generate something. Okay, maybe it's not usable for animation, but what could be good could be generate some quick idea, right? So definitely that could be a part. If you think about it, even ChatGPT can be used to generate idea on text, right? Some people, they struggle to come up with idea. For many years, I struggled to come up with the original idea when I was very young, right? And I know some people still does. They could use in a way ChatGPT to say, I want to create a character like this, describe the character and give me some idea, right? ChatGPT will give you something. Most of them would be maybe not that good, but if you try to dig a little bit more, will be able to give you something. And so I think there is a chance where you could do the same things with animation. You type a prompt and it will pop up some video, right? We don't know if it's going to be able to work directly with your rig. Maybe it could be something very advanced, but it could happen in the future, right? Where you have a rig and you're able to create that animation directly for your rig. Again, for me, that will be just a start, just to brainstorm an idea or something. The things I wish the AI really could help the artist, and it's something I really would like to see, where all the technical issue that animators find extremely annoying, like gimbal lock, sometimes counter animation, where you have to find IK and about FK, and rather than focusing on the performance, you need to start to fight about the technicality, about the prop, the constraint, and stuff like that. That's what I would like to see AI stepping in, so we don't have to worry about this, but really came along and be creative and focus on the creativity. Another tool, I think I saw something like this, but I don't quote me on this, but would be really amazing for people who can draw in 2D. And I know there is still a lot of out there. Well, what about if you have a Maya, you have a rig in front of yourself, and you sketch a rig in Maya of poses, and within a second, it model the rig in a way that fits the pose that you created, right? I can show that this will be amazingly beneficial for a lot of people because they're very good in drawing and they're not very comfortable with manipulating the rig. If you have a tool like this with AI, a lot of people will be very, very happy, right? So I think those things, for example, will be very useful. And there could be plenty of other things. There are sometimes even moments where when we are going from step mode to blocking or blocking plus or maybe to polish, animation tend to be very choppy. Sometimes the curve is not very smooth, very interpolated properly. This time you need to still spend time, check them one by one. All those things takes times, right? Those are another area where AI could take over. Or many times there are many things that we don't do because of the rig and the rig limitation, right? And we need to, if you have a specific request, something we wanted to be done, we need to ask the help of a rigger. Can you please do this? Help me to give me this feature. Maybe in order to do this, we need to go back to the modeling and stuff like that, right? Well, imagine if you have AI who will let you, stretch certain things or maybe clean up the pose of the facial, bypassing all those steps, right? So those are the things that I, as an animator, I would love to see because it will give me more power as an artist. I could focus just on my creativity, just on the idea. Still, I want to enjoy do the blocking plus and polish, but I will get rid of all these technical difficulties that make us waste a lot of time. This will be an amazing way to use AI rather than replacing your idea and you type a prompt and the computer does it for you. That it kill me even the joy to do animation. But I mean, as an artist, I want to do the art, right? That's part of the beauty. That's what I'm proud of it, right? If you take over that process entirely, then I will just do any other job, right? Because I'm just typing words here and modify a little bit. It's nothing interesting at all for me. I don't know if this can answer the question.
Yeah, I think it did. And then we've got a whole bunch of other questions here about, and you might be talking about this in a little bit. As animators, what should we be looking for in AI? Should we be learning a little bit of programming? Should we be playing around with these tools and trying to incorporate them into our workflows? And if so, do you have any suggestions on how to approach that?
Okay, so if you want to approach AI as an animator, I don't think you need to go into programming. I mean, sure, if you're curious about it, you want to extend your skill, it doesn't hurt, right? It's an extra skill. But I don't think that's necessary, right? Because there will be other people in charge of that. I know also, and I don't know how true is this, NVIDIA recently, they have like a meeting with a shareholder and he was the CEO of NVIDIA was telling like in the future, the idea is that nobody should program anymore, right? The idea, you write a prompt, like you write what kind of program do you want, and the AI will do the programming for you. That's what they're aiming in the future. Again, guys, always take these things with a grain of salt that people tend to be very enthusiastic, especially when they sell this technology, right? They tend to oversell things. So those words always looks amazing. We never know if that's what's going to happen. Probably yes, but we don't know when. All right. But again, as an animator, I don't think you need to go into the level of programming. When it comes to everything else, for me, it's simply keep an eyes around, doing research, having sometimes a bigger network, because sometimes if you have enough network on LinkedIn, Facebook, whatever you want, and you have your community of animation, game development, movie, you're gonna stumble about those tools, right? Someone will talk about, hey, there is a new tool for AI for image animation. There is a new tool to that you can take a video from your phone and can take that video, put it on your rig, and can apply any visual style that you want, right? There is gonna be all those things, right? So you're gonna stumble about all this, but then it's up to you to be curious about it and explore and get into it, right? So that's gonna be up to you. I can give an example. It's not exactly about AI, but it's another tool that is getting always a little bit more popular, which I haven't tried yet, which is Cascador, if I'm pronouncing properly, which is basically a tool where ideally you do the main key poses and everything, right? And ideally, some of the weight, some of the arc when you do a jump will be able to do it correctly without you adding all those extra keys and all those extra in between, right? So basically, it will help you to go from the main blocking to a polish pass without doing all the breakdown. Or maybe if you have to do, definitely not spending so much time into those details. Again, I don't know yet how good it is because I haven't chance to try myself, and I do not want to talk about it, something I haven't tried, but I've seen becoming more and more popular. And again, if that's an opportunity and you see people are talking about it and are using it, then go ahead, downloading and try it, right? That's the best way to do it. And this obviously apply with the AI as well. Obviously, most of those tools are available for everybody, or sometimes you just have to pay a fee of $10 a month or 20. Don't let those things stop you, because again, your career is the most important things, and wherever it goes, it's up to you, because the world is going to change at some point, right? It's not up to me, not up to you. The world is going to go in a certain direction. We don't know which direction we'll go. So, or we adapt and we ride the wave, right? Or else we're going to left behind. The world is not going to stop just because we don't like how things go in a certain way, right? So I think you need to be very motivated, very proactive to stay on top of it, right? And also be able to navigate all the noise, because so many things are going to be just noise, right? In many years, guys, I've seen a lot of people, a lot of tools try to say, this is innovative, this is going to make some things a lot better, and many times they were not, right? So on the internet, there is also a lot of noise, especially lately, guys, where you see with all the AI and everything, you can see people be overexcited. Suddenly, everybody after 2 weeks is an expert of AI. Everybody's wanted to tell you how to increase your productivity, stuff like that, right? So you have to be very good and shield yourself about all this noise, right? Because that's not going to be good, but you need to be smart enough to keep an eye for the good things. And again, talk with your community, listen what other people think about it, right? See the trend and stuff like that. So that would be my best way to approach something like this.
Awesome.
Let's go with a few more.
Did you have more to talk about? Just because it
At
might
the
cover
moment,
some of the questions.
yes, since we have 10 minutes, I'd rather take all the questions, as many as I
Okay,
can. Yes,
perfect.
more or less, I cover whatever I wanted to say.
Awesome. Thank you so much for covering all of that. That was awesome. So we had a couple of questions here in terms of as animators, if AI technology becomes better and allows us to work faster, and studios no longer need, let's say, 100 animators, they only need 10 to do the same amount of work. Do you feel like that would make animation as a career less viable for people, or do you feel like that would allow more people access to animation and more studios and smaller studios access to more animation?
Absolutely. Yeah, this is a great question, actually, because I know people think about it. Hey, our company decided we don't need 100 animator. We only need 10 to do the same amount of work, right? But I do not think it's necessarily like this, especially into games, right? In feature film, again, things needs to be controlled in very specific details. So I think AI will take very long to get to that point. But in video games, if we want to talk about it, there are so many things that needs to be improved when it comes animation, that if we have a way to make things faster, I think would be very wise for most of the company to improve the quality. And I can give you a very simple example. A lot of company, they do huge open worlds, right? That, as you guys know, it's very difficult to maintain quality, because it means you have huge worlds, a story that lasts 20 hours, 30 hours, 50 hours, and 100 hours. And then you obviously you have the highest quality normally in the main quest of a game, right? But then you have suddenly of thousands of NPC that needs to fill the world. Other NPC, other character that need to give you side quests and side story. And obviously, if you play any video game in your entire life, you know that those content, they have very poor quality compared to the main quality. And that's not because the company is not doing a good job. It's just because it would be impossible for the same amount of animator give the same quality to everything, right? And the company obviously cannot hire 200 animators to make everything to the same level, or else every company will go bankrupt. But company in general, especially when they make games, they want to raise the bar more and more, right? So if you could do things faster, there will be a chance that would say, you know what, let's raise the quality even more rather than lay off people. Of course, there's always going to be a company that's going to be, you know what, they're very greedy. You never know, right? I'm not gonna say all the company are gonna go along the way, but I can tell you guys that there are a lot of way to use this increment of workload, right? We have games where now are happening in space with plants and stuff like that, and there's no character there because there is not enough people to make great content, right? And so there is a chance the game will become bigger and bigger, and you need to raise the quality of the content, right? And so having AI that let you work faster, it not necessarily means you will require less animator. Again, also guys, a grain of salt. Every company at the end of the day will do whatever they want, right? So it's not a rule, but that's more or less what I see. On the other hand, what you just said, it's going to be very possible that a lot of indie studio that, for example, that cannot afford high quality animation, they cannot afford to do certain games, now they can. If AI will let them to do a certain game, a certain amount of animation faster, well, that means they have a budget, and maybe before they couldn't afford to make a certain games because they cannot afford to hire someone who does animation, they cannot afford someone who does physics. Well, suddenly now all those things are a lot cheaper. So now the budget of the company is going to be the same. It's only they can do more. So now before they couldn't hire nobody, but now maybe they can hire 2 animators because those 2 animators, they can do a lot of work to enrich their vision, right? So definitely this could definitely open up the opportunity for a lot of people. And again, the things will be very important because I think everybody will be able to play with AI, right? And what I said many times, this will mean that potentially millions of people can create content, right? Same when people can use TikTok, YouTube, or open a camera, right? Before you want to go to TV, you need to do, what you need to do, but everybody now with a phone can create content on TikTok. So we don't know if this in the future, that's what's going to happen. And so if that's the case, only the really valuable things will stand out, right? So I think always people who know the craft very well, people who've been doing animation and know the craft, how to do a poses, how to make things entertaining, how to make your character tell a story, they will be always that will have an edge, right? And of course, there might be always other companies that don't need Pixar style animation, right? That's not that doesn't mean everybody needs to be Pixar, DreamWorks, Rockstar Studio, or everything, right? So there is space for everybody. But those could actually bring for a lot of opportunity and can open the door for a lot of people. Maybe there are people that would like to get into the industry. They don't know, they're too scared about learning the software and stuff like that. Maybe I could help a little bit of easy in as an entry level for those people. Maybe this could be beneficial as well, right? Again, those are all things to be taken as a grain of salt because we're not here to predict the future or anything, but most likely those things will happen. I mean, if people are smart enough, companies are smart enough, they want to use this tool to make better product, right? At the end of the day, this industry company are competing to each other, right? Everybody wants to make a better product, right? So they need to use the artists, they need to have great artists to make good products. There is no other way around. Not just great artists, great technical people. You know what I mean? You need great people in general, right? And you want to help them to achieve their vision as smoothly as possible. All right.
Yeah, that's awesome. And then we have a couple of questions here, actually quite a few questions, talking about the fear of AI and as artists, specifically the fear of having our work essentially stolen and used without our permission, whether it's as an artist, as an animator. Do you have any advice on how to approach that, how to like survive in a world like that?
Okay, this one is gonna be tricky because inevitably, whatever you're putting on the internet, right? It's already been captured by someone, by an algorithm. So if you really are afraid of that, the only things you could do is not upload anything offline, but then nobody will see your work. And it's critical for an animator also be part of a community and people knows what you're capable of doing, right? That's how we also people know us, right? So I think in this way, this is a more of a complicated topic where companies and government as well need to step in and says, you know what, if those companies cannot take, content from people that are not giving the authorization, or maybe if they do, they need to give a certain compensation. I know, for example, I don't remember, but I read it recently, maybe it was YouTube that says, YouTube will force you to put a mark on your video every time you use AI, so it's not original content. So people, when they watch a content that is made by AI, there's going to be a mark there slap on the video, so people will know that, right? And of course, government's supposed also to do something. As individual ourselves, there is nothing we can do at the moment. However, if in 5 years we see that all our work is been stolen, and people and companies using it for profit, and without giving us anything to us back, and without our knowledge, and nobody does anything about it, company don't do anything, government don't do anything, and maybe start we do a revolt or something, we do a revolution on the street, I guess.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting to see how that changes not only the industry, but the world itself.
Absolutely. I think they will have to adapt.
Oh, yeah.
Cannot be left anarchy when everybody can steal anything online, and nobody does anything. I would be very surprised if this apocalyptic scenario really happened, honestly.
Well, the big thing is, would companies even allow it? If suddenly big companies, all of their stuff that they put a lot of money into, everyone can use, it's probably not going to be something they want for very long.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I think a company will do as well, right? Because potentially you can write a prompt and say, "Hey, I want a picture of Batman and Mario running together," right? But those characters are being created by someone else, right? It's not so. Sure, if you're doing it at home for yourself, just to have fun with your friends and colleagues, it's great. But definitely, you will never be able to profit for something like that. So those are the things we want to keep in mind. Again, I don't think we'll ever have this kind of chaos where people will just steal stuff like that and using it for profit, and something will happen if we go that way.
And then we've got a few questions here about as animators, especially with the push towards AI and all of this new technology. Do you feel it's better to start incorporating AI into your demo reels, or to focus more on doing the keyframe animation and showing your understanding of animation as a person? And you kind of covered this a little bit with the idea of your creativity. But should you include some AI stuff in there?
Honestly, I don't think so. And I will give you this very quick example, because in a way it's similar when you use motion capture, right? Companies have been using now motion capture for 15, 20 years, right? And let's assume magically you can do motion capture at home, or maybe you can use motion capture because now there are websites where you can get mocap clip, implement them, merge them together, and if you want, you want to clean them up and everything, right? If you want to make it better. So far, every time I was looking for a job, even for company that really rely a lot on motion capture, when they look at their demo reel, they always want to see that your keyframe animation, not motion capture, especially at the very beginning, if you're a junior or entry level anyway, right? Because they want to see what you're able to do when you have just a rig in T-pose. Nobody's telling you everything. Nobody's going to give you any input. They want to see not just your skill, that you're able to make correct body mechanics, a sense of entertainment, polish, blah, blah, blah. Also an interesting story and an interesting idea, possibly, right? So they're not interesting because in theory, guys, if you know how to do amazing keyframe animation, then more likely you know how to use very well motion capture. And for sure, you will know how to use AI, right? Maybe you will need a bit of training at the beginning, right? But those things you can learn easily. What you cannot learn easily is how to make a great keyframe animation, right? And maybe it's a little bit different when if you are a senior, right? If you're a senior and you want to work for a company who use heavily motion capture, well, in that case, maybe they want to see some of the clip, how you take the motion capture and how you push it. Maybe they want to see if you have experience in directing motion capture, because in many companies, when you go there, they let you be part of the motion capture section and stuff like that. So in that cases, maybe if we arrive to a future where AI is really a big part of it, of of a company that is producing keyframe animation and everything is really became part of it, of the pipeline, then in that cases, I would say, yeah, sure, maybe at some point you wanna have some AI and maybe mix with keyframe. Again, we'll see how it evolve. At the moment, I don't think so. Really just focus on your energy to make amazing keyframe animation. And that's what it matters, at least for a while. Again, things can always change. Don't quote me for that things will be like this forever. But for now, I think you're okay with just keyframe animation.
That's awesome. So we are over time here. So I do want to be respectful of your time. And first off, thank you so much for doing this amazing chat. It was really awesome to hear all of your thoughts and all your ideas about the industry. It was honestly very uplifting, especially when you hear all this doom and gloom about
Yes, I know.
like the layoffs and AI just in general. It's a much more positive outlook, which is really nice to see. And I definitely love how you are not sugarcoating it. Everything's gonna be fine.
No, no, no.
Uh, it's that constant evolution, which the industry has gone through since it started.
Absolutely,
Uh,
absolutely.
so
And
thank you so much for doing this. I really appreciate it. And thank you so much, everyone, for joining in here. And before I forget, I did want to post for anyone who hasn't seen it, Alessandro has a YouTube channel. Be sure to check that out. I posted a link in the chat there. We'll also post it later on. It has amazing videos. Definitely check that out. And
without AI
yeah,
video.
there you go. uh, do you have anything else you want to say before we call it here?
Yeah. So first of all, again, one more time, thank you for all of you guys for letting me give me this opportunity. I wanna give everybody thank you for attending this. I know I talk a lot. Sometimes I talk a little bit too much. So I wanna say thank you everybody for your patience. It was really fun. And again, I wanna just reassure everybody. It doesn't matter how difficult things are. Those things sometimes can be cyclical. So it happens once every 10 years, 15 years, something like that. So don't let, again, as you said, this kind of negativity affect you too much. Eventually things will go back to a better pace. Now for you guys, if you're a student and you're studying, take just this time to focus on one thing at a time. I know how easy it is to get distracted when you get so much noise from all around you and distract you from your purpose. But have one goal for now. Just focus on your creativity, on your skill, making an amazing demo reel. Focus on that one. Eventually, things will go back to normal. I can almost guarantee you that.
Awesome. Well, thank you again so much for doing this. It was amazing to hear your thoughts. And thank you, everyone, for joining in. So
Absolutely. Thank you, guys.
take care,
Bye-bye.
everyone. Bye.